Today I'm going to do advanced TA on 4 cryptocurrencies, 3 of which are likely to take off and 1 is likely to tank and probably want to avoid in the short term. This advanced TA comes from my 18 years of trading experience. My name is Jagir, featured in the best-selling book High Probability Trading Strategies back in 2008, and we're going to use that knowledge to help guide you to buy low and sell high. So with that said, let's dive straight in. The first cryptocurrency we're going to look at is QNT. Now, at the moment, when you're looking at the price action, and especially if you're not used to looking at price action, it looks like a mess. It's just been sideways for a very, very long time. But what you want to be aware of, longer the correction, bigger the move. So this one is likely to really take off. So the first thing we're going to do is put on the pattern position. So markets typically move in 5s and 3s. And we're going to see, can we use Elliott wave theory to really guide us on this? So let's just pop on the TA so then we can really have a benchmark of what is likely to occur in the very near future. So I've drawn on what I believe is occurring with QNT. What we have over here is a very nice and clean 5-wave move to the upside. No doubt about it. Now, the most common typical correction is an ABC correction. But we can see here with QNT, it was an ABC, very drawn out. And we had some type of move in between, which we're calling an X, and then another, what looks like to be an ABC. So in other words, called a double ABC. So anything that's not a simple ABC zigzag, in Elliott wave terms, it's called a complex correction. And this has been very long and very drawn out. But it looks like we may be coming towards the end of a major correction and then some very impulsive move to the upside. The clue is the last part of a correction typically unfolds in a 5-wave structure. So this current part over here is looking relatively impulsive. So we want to be on high alert. Can we identify this? And then there's also going to be some big clues on early signals on ending this, what we call the second part of the ABC correction. What we want to look for, and I've drawn a horizontal line over here, is the price going above $108. So we're probably going to see a lower price movement with QNT, and then the price, if it goes above $108, we can be pretty confident that we are in a position to complete this correction for a nice move to the upside. Now, if that occurs, what are the price targets with QNT? Well, that's what we're going to draw on next. I'm just going to tweak the charts, draw on the price analysis, and then we can have some specific price targets, which if you're buying low, we can get ready to sell high. With QNT, the 2 key price ratios that you want to be aware of is $377 and $563. Why? Well, when you get an initial 5-wave structure to the upside, we call that a wave 1. And then this has been a long, drawn-out correction, and we're calling that a wave 2. And after a wave 2 becomes, or comes, the following wave 3, which tends to be the most aggressive, impulsive buying in a 5-wave structure. And typical wave 3s hit a 1.618, which is what this ratio is. And that's the $377 mark. But then an overextension, which is more than likely going to occur with QNT, especially keeping in mind how long this correction has been in terms of time, is $563. So we might see a 4 to 5 to 6, maybe even a 700% risk reward in QNT over the coming weeks and months. But we always want to wait for and be patient for a clear pattern reversal signal, depending on if you're trading QNT or if you're just buying low and selling high and just riding the trend. But the key part to keep in mind is that we are in a correction and has been long and overdrawn and overextended in terms of time. And once we get a clear confirmation that the end of the correction is over, we should see a nice wave 3. Also keep in mind, the price going above this, what we're calling a wave B high, would also be a stronger confirmation that the correction is over. But what you're looking for is the earliest possible signal so you can buy as close as possible to the low and then ride the next leg up. So with that said, now let's go over to the second cryptocurrency that we're going to look at today. The second cryptocurrency we're going to look at today is SUI, S-U-I. Now again, we want to start with the pattern position and remember that most market moves in 5s and 3s. And if we can identify that position, keeping in mind that 30, 40, sometimes 50% of the time the pattern's not clear. But when the pattern is clear, we want to take advantage of that information because we can get a real feel. I'm also going to draw on the price and time ratios that a typical correction goes through, because we have had this nice impulsive move up and some type of pullback. So let's draw that on so we can get a real feel for what is likely occurring with this particular market. So as you can see here, we've had a nice five-way move to the upside. So we've got this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very clean. Love it when it's this clean. However, we've had this initial move to the downside, and the first question is it the end of the correction, or is it likely to be the end of the correction? Well, we've definitely hit the minimum price ratios, which is a 50% retracement. So it's gone below $1.27. So that will give us the thumbs up that is likely to be the end of the correction. However, with that said, there's two things that would indicate to me that is not the end of the correction. The first is it hasn't hit the minimum time. The minimum time is the 27th of May. So the low should be in that zone. And the second thing is this initial move to the downside seems quite impulsive. It looks like an impulsive wave structure. And corrections don't finish in an impulsive structure. They finish more like this. You see this over here? Overlapping wave structure, overlapping wave structure. Whereas when it's impulsive, that just usually implies that it's the first leg of the correction. So what's likely to occur with SUI is some type of movement of sideways to up, but it should only be a wave B that should not exceed this high over here. And then more than likely a new low being formed. And if it unfolds like this over the coming weeks and months, then we want to identify this low with high probability and then ride up the next leg up. So if it does unfold like this, and it is still an if, too early to say, let's just do some price projection on what is likely to achieve as a typical and even an overextended price objective. If and when this correction is complete, the two key price ratios or price points you want to be aware of is $3.68 and $5.54. So we want to be prepared for the price to be sideways, up and down to complete the correction, but eventually to around 80 cents thereabouts, and then for a nice surge up of 400% to $3.68 and more than likely overextending. So just to clarify what I'm talking about, we're talking about a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of a wave 1. There's 2 degrees of wave count. We're talking about an A, B, C of a wave 2. That's the most common, typical type of buying and selling behavior, followed by a nice wave 3. This is the typical wave 3 zone, and this is the overextended wave 3 zone. So I won't be overly surprised if that occurs, and there you have it. So hopefully that helps you get a roadmap of what's likely to occur with SUI, but we'll get some further clues if we do get some type of ABC move over here. If the pattern overlaps over here, that will give us a big clue. And we're looking for a 5-wave structure for the end of a wave C. So if that occurs, and again, we can't forecast the future. We don't know exactly what's going to occur, but we can read what's occurring on how the market is feeling and what would violate and invalidate. So invalidate and validate what we're talking about over here. So with that said, let's go straight into the third cryptocurrency that we're going to look at today. We are looking at the price action of Cake, and I've got closing line data to make a few things very clear to us, because we want to initially put on the pattern position to get a real feel for what is happening in the market. There's some key differences over here to the prior charts, because to the untrained eye, this does look like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there's 2 key violations that means and tells us that this is not the case and something else is occurring, and this is the one that's likely to tank, and I'll tell you why. The first one is, one of the Elliott wave rules is wave 3 cannot be the shortest out of waves 1, 3, and 5. So if this is a wave 1, and this is a wave 3, and this is a wave 5, well, the wave 3 cannot be the shortest, and clearly it is the shortest right now. So that tells us this cannot be a wave 3 or a 5-wave structure. The second thing is a wave 4, which is this, or potentially this, should not and cannot close into the range of wave 1. And we can see this has closed, it's called a wave overlap, into this range, which is it's a sign of weakness. So in other words, something else is occurring. So if something else is occurring, it tells us it's not a 5-wave structure. So let's now draw on what the structure looks like, and that will tell us what's likely to occur, and it would also indicate what kind of action you might be looking to take based on the high probability technical position where the fundamentals are already baked in. So let's draw on the technicals, and then we'll talk from there. So because of what we just discussed a moment ago, this actually looks like a correction. an overlapping wave structure, the second most common type of correction, an A, B, C, D, E correction. If that's the case, after a correction, what typically follows? Well, it's a continuation of the prior trend, which is down. In other words, this low should be tested and maybe even exceeded, and we should anticipate a 5-wave structure to the downside. So this is a bearish sign for cake. Now, again, I'm just reading the technicals. The fundamentals are already baked in, but when we get buying coming into the market, which is an upward move, and it's an impulsive structure, non-overlapping waves, that's a good positive sign. But if we've got an upward move and there's overlapping wave structures, then this is a bad sign in terms of weakness. And that's what we have on our hands right over here. So with that said, we should anticipate some further downward movement. And in other words, any upward movement is probably only going to be a correction. And then we should see some type of follow through to the downside. So anticipate further moves to the downside with cake. Now, how do we identify the end of a major move to the downside? Well, if it is a 5-wave move, and especially if this last part moves in a 5-wave structure, we could wait for the first 5-wave move up, and this would be a strong confirmation that the low is in, and then we can wait for the first pullback, and this will be a nice buying opportunity. So there's no real price projections other than the low. What we can do actually, we'll do some price projections for what are the likely lows likely to be, and there's a real reliable retracement. It's called an external retracement that I'm going to do that can really help guide us. So I'll draw that now and then we'll talk through it. If you're getting value from this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and helps more people see this content. So I would really appreciate that. And also to get notified when we do more cryptocurrency pairs and analysis. And by the way, if you want me to check out any cryptocurrency that you're interested in, because this next one was from the comments below, and it was suggested by yourself, you can pop it in the comments and I'll see if I can take a look. So the fourth pair is Mint Layer. ML is the ticker symbol. This nice clean pattern that we're seeing over here. And we're going to draw on the TA. Again, the first thing I'm looking for, are there any clear 5s and 3s? And feel free to pause this video and see if you can identify a 5 and a 3, because potentially we're at the end of a particular correction and we're probably going to see the market move to new highs, and I'm going to tell you why. So let me just draw on the TA and then we'll take it from there. So we've done two key things with the TA. We've drawn on the 5s and the 3s, and it seems to be at the end of an ABC correction, which I'm going to talk about very shortly. And then we've also done the price retracement, and I've also drawn a horizontal line for the pattern reversal signal. So let's just start over here. So we look like we've got a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave move to the upside. Textbook, perfect, looks good. And then we look like we've got an ABC correction where this wave C is broken down to a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that looks pretty good as well. Now I like to put a question mark down over here just to remind me of when the correction is not complete. And what we're talking about over here, and I do actually want to draw this on, let me just draw it on very quickly, is we're referring to this as a wave or a potential wave 1. And I just want to change the color so you can just see it a bit clearer, of a higher degree wave count, and then a potential wave 2. So what follows? Well, it's a wave 3. So we are looking at a potential end of a wave C of a wave 2, and we might end up getting a nice wave 3 to the upside where this high gets exceeded, and we're going to do a price projection in just a moment. But what I want to quickly talk about are pattern reversal signals and how we can use momentum to get the green light signal before we take action. So when I'm looking at this, and I want to zoom into this part of the market, what we want to do is be very aware of swing highs. So swing highs are basically these parts over here, the highest part of the chart over here, like so. And when the price exceeds the swing high, that gives us an early signal that the low prior to the swing high being exceeded, which is over here, is likely to hold. Now, what we want to wait for, if you're trading ML, mint layer, or looking to load up, is wait for the next bullish reversal on this momentum indicator. This one is the stochastics RSI. And in the ideal world, it comes as an ABC correction. And this will be an ideal buying opportunity as long as this low is not exceeded. And then we might be sideways to up for a number of weeks, if not a number of months. And by the way, if you're not used to stochastics RSI, you can go to indicators, just type in stochastics, STOCH. Let's just do it over here, STOCH. It's the stochastics RSI. And then if I just double click the settings, that works really well on a daily chart for most to really pinpoint the low in the momentum when was called the next bullish reversal is 8533. So you can copy those settings and use this. So the last thing we're going to do is set some, if this is the low, let's do some price targets for what a wave 3 would look like for the typical and then an overextended. At the time of doing this video, the current price of mint layer is 0.34, and the price points for a potential wave 3 that you want to be aware of is $1.81 to $2.79 or $2.80 thereabouts. So in other words, we've had this nice 5-wave move to the upside for a wave 1, a nice ABC correction that's been pretty long and drawn out. Typical, it's gone beyond the typical, so we're probably going to see an overextension. And if we do get that buying into the market, anticipate a 5-wave structure, either finishing at $1.81 or get into the $2.80 range thereabouts. What's another clue beyond just the price is the pattern structure. What you want to be aware of is a 5-wave structure. If we get some type of 5-wave structure, this gives us a clue on where the price will end. And there's a few other clues as well, but we won't go into that in too much detail right now. But as the price unfolds, you're looking for a 5-wave structure. And the clue is, I'll go over it like this. If the first 3 moves and goes beyond $1.80, but it's only 3 moves, we're probably going to get a wave 4 correction and then a wave 5. However, on the flip side, if $1.80 is achieved and it's a 5-wave structure, then this is likely to be the top. And then we can do some more advanced analysis when it comes to price, pattern, time, and momentum as well. So we've done detailed TA on 4 technical factors. We're going to finish with a quote from my book. It's chapter 8. It's from Henry Ford. And he said, "It has been my observation that most people get ahead during the time that others waste." If you can really get the detail of pattern, price, time, and momentum, it's going to help you make buying and selling decisions outside of emotions, outside of noise, outside of the news, outside of conflicting information that can be confusing, because all the fundamentals are baked into the price. And if you can understand that, you can understand everything. So hopefully you got value from today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below what cryptocurrency pairs you want me to look at next.